Hey guys, C&O here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be doing a install in a C&O H4. This is a C&O H4 from Bachman's Spectrum line. Bachman hasn't done these in a while, and today we're going to be putting class lights in these and on the rear of the tender. Now, there is another one that I've already done, which is an H5. I've already put class lights on that locomotive. However, it does not have class lights on the tender. So, we're going to be putting class lights on the engine of this. I'm going to show you basically how I do it, and basically how I did the ones on the tender. So, yeah. So, I have to basically have a special drill bit. I think this is a number 67. That's what's in this, I believe. But basically, you would want to take your really tiny drill bit, and you'd want to drill these class lights out. There's two of them. And you'll basically drill them out, and you'll put a 402 size LED right inside of there. And that would give you the ability to light the class lights and have them operational so that we can see your lights and active. And then you feed them, you drill a really tiny hole on behind or somewhere very close to it, thread your wire down inside of the boiler, and then put your two resistors of whatever resistance you want on them. I am going to be using a 1K ohm, two 1K ohm resistors on the locomotive, and the same thing in the tender. So yeah, let me show you how I do that. Okay, so I emitted the tender from the picture right now. Basically, I'm going to show you how I do the light. So let me turn my headlight on. Okay, hopefully that's bright enough to where you can see. But basically, now I'm going to have to drill the lights off camera because these lights specifically are metal. If the class lights are metal, you can still drill them out, however, it's going to take you a little bit longer. So basically what you would want to do is you would want to get your drill bit started. They have a little dimple kind of. And then you would start to drill your lights out, the class light casting out, to where you have a hole to where you can slip the wires through. And once you got the wires through, you then drill another hole very close to the light. And then you feed the wires down inside the boiler. And so yeah, that's basically how you do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done, and I'll show you basically what else you need to go from there. So let me go ahead and get these lights drilled out because this is gonna take a while. Alright guys, so we're back, and that is the light casting with the class light and the surface mount already installed. So that's the light, and you have the two wires sticking out the back, and then you have the class light on that the light sits in. It might be pretty hard to see, but there's a tiny yellow dot. That is the light itself. Currently right now the glue is drying to hold the light in place. Once it's dried, it'll be just like the other light, positioned right on top of the smoke box. Then we just have to drill the two tiny holes for where the wires are going to go. And then we have to take the boiler shell off and then get ready to put the resistors on and then to wire it to the locomotive. And then after that, we'll start working on the tender. Okay, so while the glue is drying for the class light housing, this right here is a 2-pin tether for the Bachman 6-pin locomotives. And currently, one of his tethers is broken, so that he wanted me to replace as well. So I have this one. It's brand new. I cut it down the length and tinned the wires already, and then all I have to do is just solder it on and then cut this off and then add it in and then move the wires back inside of the tender, and it should be fine. And then what else I have to do is I already have them ready to go. Since those ones were plastic, those were easier to set up. Now those two little things right there, those are the rear marker lights, and those have a red 603 size LED inside of those. And those are going to be ready to go right back onto the back of the tender. And then same aspect, drill tiny holes and then put those on. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to put those on in a second. Okay, we're back, and after much cussing and fussing and hard attempts of getting the boiler off, I finally got it off. The cab has to come off first, obviously. I already knew that. But what I didn't know, and I think Justin probably forgot to tell me this, that the screw was stripped. So I had to literally spend most of my time drilling the screw head off, and then I had to undo the thread to get the screw out. Now that I've got the screw out, I can finally put the thread the lights through and put the engine back, and then put the lights installed. However, that means I have to find a screw, and the good thing is I have a screw, and if I do have to retap it, I can. I have a tap, which I'm going to retap the hole just in case, so that way we don't have any issues. But I got the boiler off, and the good part is nothing's damaged, so that's a blessing. So yeah, if you do ever have a problem with this, a drill is really a really good tool to remove a strip screw. However, you got to be very careful, and because this is not my engine, again, you got to be very careful. So, Justin, I know you're probably going to be watching this. I was very careful, and nothing is broken, so that's a good thing. So I will source you a replacement screw, and now I just got to thread the lights through and then solder them into the thing back here. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get that done. I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay guys, so we got the resistors ready. While my soldering iron is warming up, it is still doing that, yeah. These are the two 1K ohm resistors that I'm going to be using. Now, a simple, easy trick that I've learned is that if you're putting the resistors on the same polarity, like positive on a positive polarity, in this case I'm probably gonna do the negative or positive, whichever one. I'm probably gonna do negative. So if these are on the same polarity, you can put them, the short end, that's the end that the wire for the resistor for the light is going to solder onto, this short end. Now these two long ends, I twist these together, and then I solder them together, and then I cut it short, so that way I can solder it to somewhere else, so that way it'll have a, shorter length, and that way it helps keep your wiring down a little bit. Instead of having two things, together, you just have one big thing, and just have the little thing coming out of it and then solder it to another end. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Okay, so show you what I'm talking about better. So if I zoom in, you see on this end, both of these are the negative wires. The blue wire in this case is my negative, from the surface mount. So those come on the other side of that resistor, and these two don't want to connect. You don't want to connect those two together. The other side of the resistor, you twist them together, and then you solder it together, and now it's one pole. So if I do so basically you would do the same thing in the red pole. However, the other side, the other pole, the positive in this case, you don't put a resistor on that. That's just by itself. You would solder those two together, and then it's just one wire at that point. So since they're all banded together, and I'll show you how that works in a second as well. Okay, so now that I've got both the red and the blue both soldered together, so basically I'm going to show you, if I touch the blue to the negative end and touch the red to the positive end, both of the lights come on, right? Since they're all soldered together, it's all ready to go, and now I can just solder it onto the board, and then we should be able to just start working on the tender. So let me go ahead and get that done. And yeah. Okay, so here's the tender, and we have now installed the class lights. So now we've got those installed. Those should be good. Now we've also got the locomotive's class lights installed, and now all I got to do is just to wire all the lights up and replace the tether now. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the boiler off so I can go ahead and get this started and thread the wires inside. Okay guys, so we're back. We've got the tether installed. We've got the lights ready. I also changed out the regular reverse light for a brighter light. So we changed that out. So yeah, now we're basically just got to give it a test run. Actually, I did already give it a test run. Apparently, for some reason, the headlight in this isn't working. So I got to figure that out, and then we can finally run it. But I got to figure that out, and once I do, we'll get ready to run it and do just a couple runs with the other H-class locomotive. Okay, so this is the pilot beam of the H4, and I finally replaced the headlight. So what I did, so this actually was a lot more confusing than what it should have been, but I did have to re-engineer basically how this works. So how this works is that the light wires go through the steam pipe that's sticking out, that little this little thing right here. That's a steam pipe, and the light wires actually go through that. So I have to basically take that off. I had to take the wires out, and I basically have to. It was very difficult to get the light back in. The light, well, actually, no, getting the light in there wasn't the hard part. And the light that's in there is a warm white 3mm LED. And what I had to do was, here's an unmodified one. And what I had to do was basically file the front of it down, so that way the lens of the light can go back on. And so once that fit in there, I fed the light wires down, but then that didn't work. So then I tried it a different way, and so I tried it a different way. And so what I did was, instead of feeding the light thing down in there, I decided, what if I tried quick disconnect? And that's what I did. So I drilled the hole in where the light would have went. I drilled a little bit bigger hole, and I fed the quick disconnect wires down underneath, so that way it can go up, it can go down, right back up through the steam pipe, and then connect to these two wires right here. Now you might notice there is no insulation on these. That is correct, because what I am using is super glue. Super glue is an insulator, so if you put super glue on those wires, it'll insulate it, so that way they don't, make any contact with the frame, and so that way I can slide these right back in there without having to use some insulation, because I don't really want to take the boiler apart. I don't really want to mess that up, so I don't really want to take that apart. So that's what I'm going to try to do, and we're going to see how well that works out. It should work fine, and because I've seen it been done a few times. I've even done it on a couple engines before. So we're going to see how well that works, and then we're going to just put this thing back together. Okay, so one thing I want to put into note about this, since I did this and did that, the hole for putting this stuff is really, really small. And I didn't really want to take the boiler apart, so I had to redo the light. And well, not redo the light, but redo the wiring and soldering for that. So now it's soldered in there. Actually, the solder connection from the yellow wire is inside of the steam pipe, and for the blue wire, it's inside of here. So that's fine. Also, one of the most important things is, it might look like a mess right here, but this is going to get cleaned up. To put a resistor right here is a 1kΩ resistor. That is pretty good for headlights. There's a 1kΩ resistor right here going to the negative pole. Make sure you put a resistor in line with that, or you will blow out your LED. There is a board inside of the tender that's supposed to do that, but I guess it didn't do it, and I gotta fix some stuff on the tender anyway, because the trucks on the tender aren't picking up power, so I have to figure that out. But once I do, we'll be able to finally give this a test run. Once I gotta get put this back together, and then I'll probably go back to the tender, and we'll try to figure out how to do the trucks to get them to pick up power. Okay, so we're here with the H4 and 5, and so now we finally got everything working, everything's put together. The only thing I will have to do is just do some painting on it, because I still have to I have to put some paint on it to prevent light bleed. But after I do that, it should be pretty much fine. But other than that, we can run these two for a little bit. I've got the other unit, which I've also just finished a few days ago. So now I can run both of them. And yeah, let's go ahead and get them started so we can take a look at the lights. Okay, so here is the front of the H4. The H4 has a not golden, but a warm white LED in the headlight, which is a 3mm size. It's got two warm white 402 size LEDs in the class light housings. We go back to the tender. Now the tender, I still got to do some work on, but it's got two red 603 size LEDs, and the H5 has the same setup. However, it has a golden yellow LED. Now I'm not going to change that one because it works, and it's still going to be a pain to change out if I did do that. So I'm just going to leave it alone. But they are finished and they are working. And so that's pretty much it. I just got to do some touch-ups and some painting to prevent light bleed and to clean up some of the stuff and repaint some things black after gluing some parts on and getting rid of some glue marks. So after I do that, this should be pretty good. But after I do that, I just got to ship it back out to Justin. But I hope he likes it. I hope he will let me do some more of his engines if possible. And I hope you guys would like me to do the same thing as well. So I'm going to run these two for a little bit with some music, because these are running on DC current right now. That's why you hear the buzzing. It's not going to be very long run by, because, you know, on a DCC layout running on DC, DC engines on a DC layout is not very good for them. They're running them, so I'm not going to really run them for very long, but I will run them for a little bit. So I hope you guys enjoy. See you guys in the next one. Peace.
Say goodbye and I won't miss you to the only pain I know. I was doing fine, getting lost in time without you. I have tried to rise above all of the anger that I kept as it left to me. Oh, it left me for dead, just like sand slipping from my hand. The sun went down and it never came up, screaming in the dark ain't loud enough. As far as I can see, you were just beyond my reach. The crashing waves can pull you down, even when your tears are bleeding out. The joy inside of me, you were just beyond my reach, just beyond my reach. Now I'm saying all these phrases to a broken bathroom mirror. Could have sworn I saved myself from all the demons here. I could sort it out, but some things never get to make amends, 'cause they left me, oh, they left me again, just like sand slipping from my hand. The sun went down and it never came up, screaming in the dark ain't loud enough. As far as I can see, you were just beyond my reach. The crashing waves can pull you down, even when your tears are bleeding out. The joy inside of me, you were just beyond my reach. And I live with my mistakes, this life I hate, it's way too late. Trying to fix them all the same and hope that there are better days. And I live with my mistakes, this life I hate, it's way too late. Try to fix them all the same and hope that there are better days. The sun went down and it never came up, screaming in the dark ain't loud enough. As far as I can see, you were just beyond my reach. The crashing waves can pull you down, even when your tears are bleeding out. The joy inside of me, you were just beyond my reach. And I live with my mistakes, this life I hate, it's way too late. You were just beyond my reach, you were just beyond my reach, just beyond my reach.